Hi Rahul,
Hello, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm good. Is the light insufficient? Should I need to put a table lamp or something?
No, it's looking good. Okay, so every time your hand goes out, then the light kind of, yeah. So
So then I should I put a table lamp or something like that?
no, you're good. It's all
I'm okay.
good.
If it's okay with you, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Then cool. That's
So
good.
how's your day been so far?
Good, good. Yeah, it's been good preparing for the session today at 5 p.m. So it's
We'll
good.
talk about that. We'll talk about that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm just quickly opening up the other streams to make sure that it's working fine
All right.
because whoa,
What happened?
no notifications are dropping in on your end.
What's happened? What notification?
So, listen, you can get a beverage of your choice, whatever you want.
Yeah,
Your house.
I have water with methi seeds dipped in.
With what seeds?
Methi. That's what you call fenugreek, right?
Methi, fenugreek.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a name that nobody can ever say properly.
Fenugreek seeds. So only
All
thing
right, so how's it going, Alifia? How's life during lockdown for you? How are you
very honest.
doing?
I'm, in the beginning, it was like psyching me out, but I think I quite enjoying this time because ever since for if I recall, for 15, 20 years, I've never kind of spent this kind of time at home. So it's lovely to see what my room looks like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So how it looks like 2 p.m. I can see the shadows play. I can see the sun rays streaming in. So I'm quite
All
enjoying
right,
it.
Kunal Jain, how are you, my friend?
Final, how are you? Nice to see you.
Yes, good to see you on the stream. So, very quickly, I'm going to go over a very, very brief introduction of Alifia and welcome to all of you for my show called Penny for Your Thoughts. I am trying to get in guests who have created their own silver spoon. So, I don't think I'm going to get people over here who got it hand down. Okay, so these are people who worked really hard and slogged off their posteriors to reach where they are. And I think they are, in one way or another, very inspirational for me. There is something that they bring in the narrative or in the story that I find very fascinating. I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I think of that? Or that's interesting, stuff like that. So, Alifia being Alifia, she is absolutely, absolutely uh, very shy and quiet about all these things. But as a brief, I'll go very quickly. Alifia's an architect. She is also a software engineer. She is a management graduate who's turned a travel specialist. She is the regional director at the Wanderers currently. They specialize with outdoor wilderness and learning. Lives in Kolkata. She is single and has two adopted children. The key to Alifia's success, however, if you believe it or not, is do it right now because the future has never been promised to anyone. So that's very fascinating. She's living the moment. What everyone talks about, live in the moment, but actually, this lady is living the moment. Um, as far as her diet is concerned, Alifia shares that she breathes, drinks, eats, and sleeps travel. So I don't know how that adds up to the dietary supplement or whatever it is. I mean, if we have some nutritionist, they can throw a little light on this. That how is all this working for her? But that's what she claims. Okay. She's also been a straight level sprinter and has done a marathon. So that speaks very highly about the physical, the dedication that is required to cover a marathon or even be a state level sprinter. She's had short job stints with the Taj Bengal in an advertising agency, and she's also owned a software firm. But right now, she's doing the travel bit. She's the vice chairman of the Indian Cancer Society. She runs a pranic healing center. And currently, as a member of YI, she is the national chair for climate change. So that's her in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to leave it at that, and let's begin with our, so to say, Q&A, and let's try to scrape under the surface and see what this lady is all about and what makes her what she is. So, Olivia, how does it feel being on a live streaming show?
So very honestly, I think this is the first of its kind. I mean, I I somehow don't. I somehow find it very clear because I don't see a reason why. Because we've been so conditioned to the physical world that a live streaming really I'm not able to kind of still come to terms with it. How does live streaming for me? Live streaming has always been football games, cricket matches, and stuff like those reality shows and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
a talk, a conversation with somebody who's like less than 100 meters from my office, okay, who stays 100 meters from my office, I mean, doing a streaming with you, obviously, is a different sort of experience. And I'm quite excited if I were to
Okay.
put in the right.
Hey, Pushpal, how are you doing? So, listen, when people drop in messages here, I'm just going to get them on the screen. Some may even join us. So, just letting you know if someone drops in, I'm just going to like very quickly say hi to them. So, here's Ahona. Can't see her face. Can't see her face. Okay, hold on. Good point. So, Alifia, we might have to do something about maybe getting a little more light around your.
Let me just get your. Let me just get the some light. Just a moment. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Thanks, Ahona. Thank you for bringing that out. Let me send you a link, Ahona, and you or Paddy could join us if you want very quickly on that conversation.
How is this? Is it okay? So you know, this
Okay,
is
Ahona,
like.
how's this?
So this
I
is like.
like it, Ahona. What do you think? Let's get her professional opinion on this.
So this is like actually is like being in the spotlight. This is like this is what I know. It now I feel like now I think now the pressure is building up.
Okay, so what we're gonna do right now is this. Okay, Alifia, we're gonna go through a whole bunch of questions. I have done, I would like to say, fairly good research on you.
So there's a research
And
on, and that's interesting.
yeah, so I dig through social media profiles, I dig through Google searches, I do Bing searches, I go to Wayback Machine and search names. I try to dig dirt on people because India wants to know. No, India doesn't want to know.
So now you're
I'm just.
intimidating me. Okay, now you're intimidating me. I have never Googled myself ever. So I don't know what kind of questions are there. I really have no clue.
Okay, so let's jump straight into questions. So I know that your dad, uncle, was a very renowned doctor in the city, and he was educated in the US. And there are some parallels between him and my father. So I can
Sure.
correlate a lot to the whole kind of things in how they were. So how was it growing up around someone who was like, very particular about timing and someone who was all about manners and structure of things?
I think that's a lot. I think I attribute to whatever I am today to my dad. Because the kind of now I see the growing my nephew who's growing up in front of me the last 14 years, and I see, my God, had my dad been around, I don't think you would even survive first 4 years of your life. It was a very regimented life for us. In fact, thank him for that. It was a very regimented life for us, and quite a disciplinarian he was. And I think I attribute a lot of my success, if at all there's success in my life or whatever I am today, to him. I mean,
Okay.
he's actually made us what we are today.
All
I
right.
still
So
remember
now,
bedtime and study time and food time, and I mean, no nonsense. You don't like this food? Okay, go. It's okay, you stay hungry. You don't die. You don't have blanket. So there's no pampering. I've never had pampering because I never had grandparents, both mom, dad side. I
okay.
never
Okay.
probably lived with them. Yeah.
So that's growing up with uncle around, and from a very early age, there's been the whole time thing and the whole regimented things being inculcated in you, and that of course explains a lot about you as you are as a person. Everything is got to be on time, very regimented, neat and tidy, no BS happening around you. It's a yes or a no, no hanging on the wall, on the fence kind of stuff. So, how was schooling at Calcutta Girls High School? Were you better in the class or outside the class?
Outside, totally outside the class. I mean,
मैंने
very,
बचपन से ही
very,
हो रहा था ये सब.
yeah, because I was almost better outside the class. I'm an average student. I only started
Okay.
getting better at studies and, if I may say, topping universities only post class after I got out from school. But still, I was still an average student because I was more kind of towards the extracurricular activities, and that's where I think lied my calling, if I were to say at that time. So I love that
Okay.
bit. So I was always outdoors, and I was quite an active person in the sports. And of course, having said that, schooling was great. I have some great friends. We've been touched. The seven of us have been touched ever since then. It's been like 20 plus years now. It's like, wow. And schooling was fun. I mean, all I knew, so it was very clear. My dad was a doctor. So we thought, I thought, okay, that's what needs to be done in schooling. But I thought, oh, urban man. Because I obviously understood that around. I saw the kind of lifestyle he lived, and I saw the kind of respect he had, and he got that, okay, this is what I need to be. I need to be a doctor. But luck would have
Okay.
it, I did not clear. I did not get proper ranks or good ranks to qualify into a medical college. Yeah, I could not. But school was fun.
Okay.
And I think those are
So
the best days of my life.
So school was fun, and then we jump straight to as far as your career is concerned. I feel you've been pretty much all over the place. You've been like this crazy ball, one of those crazy balls that we used to have as a child. You like throw it and just bounce all over the place like crazy. So you've been
Yes,
pretty crazy. You've
yes,
got an architecture degree from JU. That's 5 years of college. Okay, that's before you step out into the real world. You've got 5 years of architecture degree. Then one fine day you decide that I want to be a software engineer. You go from bricks and cement to zeros and ones. Now, in my personal experience, it has to be some very dramatic change or some very strong feeling that has to be around there where you decide to go from here to here. Okay. So
yeah.
what was it in the architecture world that decided that you're like, I want to be a software engineer now?
So it happened during the last I would say 1 or 2 years uh, when I was in college, and that's when the computer boom had started, and everybody was doing
Hmm.
these kind of courses and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of dabbled into the world of computers and programming and stuff like that. And that's when I realized that, okay, designing is not my cup of tea. This is not what I want to
Okay.
do. I'm not breaking my back over. So that time there was no CAD cams. So you had to do all these drawing on the drawing boards, 10 hours on the drawing boards. You can break your back doing that. I said, this is what I'm doing. And this is my
Hmm.
time. It's like, this is what I need to do. So that's the reason. And I started dabbling into it, and I liked it, enjoyed it. And I like the way you write a program and things just appear on the screen the way you wanted it. So I think that was an instant manifestation of what you wanted, rather than doing a design where you put it on the board, you put it on the paper, and probably it never probably manifests because not everybody likes what you do, right? So I thought the best way to
Okay.
do it is yeah, why not create your own programs and see it coming live in front of your eyes. So yeah, I think that
Okay. And this you did with Microsoft. So how was your time, your experience with Microsoft?
it was good because it helped me a lot because while I was doing this, I remember there were the first 2 3 years of my life, first 1 or 2 semesters where I was not quite doing well. I was
Hmm.
not quite doing well. And, in fact, I remember flunking one of the exams as well. Yeah, I actually flunked one of the exams as well. That's when I realized my teacher, my coach told me, "What the hell are you doing? What's wrong with you?" Because I was getting my basics wrong. Then I realized, you know what? Medical is not happening for me. My design and everything has gone out of bucket. My mother's saying, "What are you running for? And what are you running for?" Okay, and if I'm not going to do this well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, what am I going to actually tell my father? I mean, what are people going to talk about me? And there was great pressure. And I have one sibling, an elder sibling, my brother,
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
always creating records for himself, So my dad on his visiting card. So my dad had a two-fold visiting card, and that's because of paucity of space of where to write the degrees. He had a two-fold, so he could write so many. I'm like, मेरा visiting card इतना छोटा होगा, कुछ लिखने को ही नहीं होगा. I said, okay, let me get serious now. Now I need to do my civic rights. I need to get my shit straight now. So that's when I started actually doing this, and when I got into it and I started understanding it, I sort of enjoyed it, and that's how it happened. Which is why I started up with a technology company. I don't know,
Hmm.
back then there was 123 India, if you remember, and
I remember. Yeah.
123. So I started with that, working with it, and then I started my own software company with a partner. I used to do 100% software exports for the US and the UK, and we specialized in back then in insurance softwares, and used to do used to actually do a lot of hardcore calculations, and used to figure out how premiums can be arrived at. So for that also for medical equipments like a X-ray machine and MRI machine, that was pretty intense. And yeah, we used to do that. I also enjoyed that.
So that's fascinating. I'm going to very quickly pull up one guest over here on the show since we are on the engineering bit. So as soon as I think Sandeep wants to get in, as soon as Sandeep shows up on the screen, I'll pull him in. And I'll get him in at this point of time because Sandeep is also an engineer. And it ties up with exactly what I'm going to say next because you've got your architecture done, you've got your engineering with Microsoft, software engineering with Microsoft done. And those are pretty much very sought after degree at that point of time. You could probably have a very comfortable month to month, but no, you're Alifiya, so you have to go and get another degree, and you just wake up one day and like, chalo management karte hain. So now this takes you to Pune. So tell us a
Yeah,
little more about
a
your
friend of
time
mine.
in Symbiosis in Pune, where you're doing management. Did you ever sit in class and you're like, "Oi, architect मैं हूँ, degree यहाँ पे, मेरी बात सुनो." Were you ever
No,
like
no,
that in
no, not
class?
like that. So this basically a friend of mine, Chetna. She's uh, she's a very dear friend of mine. We've been friends for
Hmm.
quite many years. So she had probably said that, why not get a management degree? And she was doing her management from Symbiosis. I said, okay, now let me also go and do it because, that's what at that point of time, that's what happened. People had their so computer and a management was that deadly combo, and
Uh-huh.
that's what fetched you the best of the jobs and gave you the instant recognition, and that's how it is. And
Okay, so
yeah,
I've got Sandeep in. Sandeep's also an engineer and a management guy. And also, what is very common between all of us over here, other than the management and the engineering degree, is that we are very fond of traveling. So, Sandeep also travels quite extensively. I thought this would be a very good ad to have someone like him maybe drop a question or have a thought process over here. But now, you're done with Pune, you're done with 3 degrees. So here we are. You're a qualified architect, you're a qualified software engineer, you're a management graduate. And that's like you drop everything and like, chalo, hum ticket banayenge.
no, so we don't make tickets. That's the thing. We don't make tickets. We curate holidays. We don't make
Okay.
tickets.
I am, I am okay. On a serious note, on a serious note, you drop an exceptionally lucrative professional life. I mean, you had, what every community-fearing Indian parent lusts for: a child who's got a management degree, a child who has an engineering degree, and to top it all off, you've got an architect degree. You know, but you decided to let it all go and get into something. You have to have some different drive, you have to have some different caliber of drive to take a call to get into now another career altogether. So what gives, like, what is it that gets you into this mode now?
So you mean, are you asking as to why I left it all?
Yeah, I mean, you had everything that an Indian parent would want.
No, so very
Management,
honestly,
engineer,
I,
architecture.
I'll be very honest, Rahul. This is something which not many know about, but I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, or if I were to say, I never wanted to be a person getting into business. I always wanted to probably be in the corporate sector. That's where I wanted to be. It's not by choice that I came. In fact, it happened quite. So I'll tell you, way back in 2000, and somewhere around the early 2000s, my father got detected with cancer, and
Okay.
that's when I wanted to be full time with him. And I realized one thing, that if I were doing a job, I mean, so I was doing a very good job, and I actually in a very comfortable space at that time. And I realized one thing, that I want to be with him all the time. I need to kind of make those frequent trips to Mumbai for his treatment and stuff. And if I have to do that, I obviously can't do justice to a job. So
Mm-hmm.
so I left everything to be with my father at that time, and I was doing practically nothing but just being around him for almost a year since he got
Okay.
his surgery done. That's when he looked at me. So I was to escort him, not escort him, I was to take him to the clinic. I should sit outside in the clinic, wait for him to finish the clinic, and then drive him
Mm-hmm.
back home. And that's what I used to do regularly. And that's when my father said, "Why don't you just go and get a life? Do something. What are you doing? I mean, this is not what you should be doing." That's when I realized, what, I need to actually start up something, so that I can actually take off whenever my dad needs me, or whenever I want to be with my dad. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
the entrepreneur thing came into me. It's not that something that I decided I want to become an entrepreneur. It's just that I just wanted because my world revolved around me. So I think because of that, I got into the space of being an entrepreneur, and that's how I started the software business, because
Okay.
I needed that kind of time and the flexibility to be around with him whenever I need to. And the travel bit, so I think the travel bit, I think it was destined. Why? Because um, ever since we were a child, my father used to. I mean, he was an avid traveler. In fact, had he been alive today, he would have probably traveled more than I have till now. So that's the kind of
Okay.
travel person he was. And he used to ensure that every year we take at least one or two holidays, and he used to take us around. And we've been very blessed, both my brother and I have been extremely blessed to be able to see so many places as a kid, as a child, and even as we were growing up. And my father, so when I was in college and I was telling my father, so talking about studies and all that, and he always told me one thing. I remember it, and it still reverberates in my ears. He said, "Don't tell me how much you studied. Tell me how much you have traveled." And
Fascinating.
that's what stuck around, and stuck with me at that time. And that's when I realized, what he's saying is right. And the reason he says it, because the amount he traveled is the kind of experience he got. And he said the amount you learn from travel, no textbook, no degree, no education is going to give it to you. And
Sandeep,
so
what do you think about this thought process? Because I know Sandeep travels quite extensively, and he does quite a lot of crazy travel, which I find very interesting also. So, Alifia, I think we lost your video.
I think,
Oh,
yeah,
there you are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Alifia. Very nice interacting with you. Thanks to Rahul and this particular broadcast of his. Now, I think I probably just mention one small anecdote from one of our travels. Typically, like Alifia was saying just now, that her father was asking her, not how much you've studied or whatever, how much have you traveled. So we also go on some kind of travels we do ourselves, and one of the best things which can illustrate this in a small anecdote, we were on one of our extensive road trips within India. One of the things I wanted to do was for my kids to uh, know and travel in India extensively as well, other than just name dropping on traveling abroad that I went here and there. So I did have a design to the plan, and it was during one of those travels after we came back. It was in the summers, their summer holidays, and we were on a 40 plus day road trip within India, about maybe about 9,000 kilometers up and down. And then this guy, my younger kid, who was I think probably in I think third or fourth standard, something like that, third standard I think, and
So then what's
the job
important
started.
to point out over here, sorry, what's important to point out over here, Sandeep is talking about a road trip. He means like four of them are driving in a car. It's not like public transport. They are in their own
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
vehicle
yeah.
driving
Sorry.
around India. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Our own. Yeah, sorry. So we come back, and this guy, the school starts again, and I think probably in the first or the second week of the school, this guy has to do some something was happening in their school with regard to some painting competition. And this guy was in third standard, the younger one. His name is Sankalp, and he came back one day and he showed us one picture which he had drawn for that competition. Looking at that picture, I was mesmerized because it had one like a A4 sheet divided into four parts. One part he had in his own mind drawn and drew an impression of a Taj Mahal. On the other side, he drew some forest with a small yellow thing. He said that's a tiger. On the third, he drew one beach kind of a thing with coconut trees. In his view, it was though they were coconut trees. I couldn't really make out what they were. And then on the fourth one was mountains. And I said, why did you draw all this? He said, well, Bam said you need to draw about India or something, some theme topic. I'm forgetting that right now. And this guy, from out of his own whatever thoughts, he drew because in our travel in this previous month, we had traveled like I used to call it Chennai to Chel because we had been to Chel while that was our northernmost destination in that road trip. And then we had traversed to Ranthambore, where the first time we spotted tigers, and then we were there in Tarkarli, and which is a pretty decent, actually a beach spot which not many people knew about, thanks to my sister-in-law Anu, who actually recommended that to us. And we stopped over by also in Goa, and then again in Dandeli and stuff like that. And on the way back from Hampi, we did stop over at Taj Mahal, I mean Agra as well. So this guy out of I coming back to what Alifiya was saying about her dad mentioning about education or rather learning by way of travel, and I found it absolutely smart. I said probably we did something right for him to be able to draw this. Now, of course, it doesn't matter whether he won the competition or not. That was besides the point. But the fact that he thought it appropriate to draw that for me was a very personally very satisfying situation. Said, okay, that's like one big checkbox done. And in case in future he ever tells me that he didn't have a good time, I have a picture of that A4 size and show that to him, saying, listen, this is what you did. And it was a very fulfilling, satisfying experience for me. And I think I can totally relate to what Alifiya just mentioned about what her dad said, and I'm very glad that probably from her dad's generation to probably my kids' generation, the thought process is pretty much aligned here. So thanks to that pointer, and I think travel is probably the most important facet as far as I'm concerned, and probably my family as well.
So
No, that's
I
awesome because Sandeep mentions about seeing tigers for the first time. So I'm just gonna let everyone know over here that Alifia also has pets. They are felines actually, and that too in Namibia. Okay. Now the catch over here, this entire little bit I'm saying is she just is so offhanded about it that yeah, I have pets. As a trustee of a private conservation, you kind of sort of own leopards. So your pets are
don't own
leopards.
leopards. No, 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 I don't own leopards. I just happen to be on their. I mean, obviously, I had expressed interest and that a little bit of
Yeah,
them.
you expressed interest of being,
Yeah,
and
but
then you
that's
became a
what was
trustee of a
happening. I was,
conservation, and then yeah,
yeah,
there are leopards, by the way. Yeah, I don't want dogs and cats. Fish is too cliched. Let's go for leopards. Damn nice, Alifia.
so I was just what Sandeep was saying. I just wanted to mention this as well. When I was whenever we used to travel with my dad made it a point that we don't sleep the night. I mean, so for example, if you're traveling for 5 days or a week, so every day before we sleep, we had to write the entire diary for the entire day. And
Oh my
till
God, this reminds me of my childhood.
this till date, I have all that written thing with me of all the trips I had done since I was a child, and he's actually made, so me and my brother could not sleep on a holiday till we actually wrote down that diary for the day as to what all we have seen and what all we have experienced. We had to write it down, and till date, even way past, it is still in a habit. Whenever I go out, I actually pen out my entire day, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
I am guilty of probably trying to do that with my kids. I never did it when I was a kid, but I thought this was a good idea, so I used to tell them
Oh, yeah.
that this is what exactly you should do. We made some rules, but then like in our house, there are no rules pretty much for anything. So these guys, they just did not take that very seriously, and nobody writes. It's a problem. So we
Right. So
what we try to do
Minu's
is
trying to,
we
Minu's
try
trying
to
to get
just
in. Minu, it shows that the device is not connected. So if you're trying to get in, I don't know, there's something off with your device. Sorry, back to the conversation.
yeah. So if so the least we do is probably at least we have some pictures and maybe we have a story trail through the pictures that we have taken. And I feel that okay, and luckily we are in the digital age, so it's easy for the pictures to move around and rotate and things like that. Uh, so could not write the diaries. Otherwise, I'm sure Alifiya, you will be probably treasuring those diaries. Maybe one of the closest things to your heart right now. Unfortunately, we didn't have that luxury because these buggers didn't follow those rules, and we never put that strictly as well. But the pictures are very important, even though they might not be of the quality what probably Rahul clicks, but then whatever it is, and we make it a point that we go through the pictures once in a while, just for the heck of it, whether in the videos and then
Yeah.
this travel, that travel, and I have that way. I have been a little bit organized, like um, year wise, month wise. I have a folder, and you have all the pictures and videos there. So you just try. Okay, we went there in that year for that month. Let's see what did we do there, and then it's a good fun watching this with the kids around. Did we had a session just a few days back. It was quite hilarious to go back to them. It was interesting.
Okay, so that covers, Sandeep's experience with travel. So we just want to pull back the spotlight on Alifia for a little bit. Now, Alifia, one thing that you have is a burning desire to complete a checklist of 50 things that you want to do before you die. And you have been maintaining this list since the age of 15. Okay.
And a bit
So,
almost.
yeah, and you've completed 36 out of your 50 things to do before you die. There are 14 more to go. How do you get around a list like this?
No, so this again, so I have been maintaining this list, but I had not actually written it down till my later part, in 20s. Yeah, first, I think 20, 19 or 20, when I was 19, 20. Actually wrote it down. I had this list, but somewhere. This was on my first trip. I had this amazing trip we did. So, so if I were to say the Wanderer's journey started with this first trekking trip that I did with the director Abhik Datta, and during that
Mm-hmm.
trekking, which was for around 13 days, every evening. So, if you look 20 years back at that time, there were no phones. There was nothing like what do you do at the end of at, when there's sunset? You stop trekking at that time. Okay, and that's when we start talking. And that's when he told us, why don't you write it down? Things that you want to do, 50 things you want to do before you kick the bucket. So
Got it.
actually, so I obviously had certain things which already had which I already had in my mind, and then I actually put it down on this book. And this book I still have it today, And very interestingly, he had also mentioned this to me that whatever things that you aren't able to do because of whatever
Mm-hmm.
circumstance in your life, why do you just cut it off, and in that place write something which you still want to do, or something other than that, whatever else you want to do, just replace it with something else that you want to do. So I think that's been my kind of I would say it's kind of been my light ever since then. This is what I want to do in life. And also one thing he said that time, that at the age of 60, a lot of people at the age of 50 and 60, when they reach at that point of life, they say, life में कुछ नहीं किया. At least if you
Mm-hmm.
have a list with you and you're working towards it, at least you will not be able to say that when you reach 50 or 60 that life में कुछ नहीं किया. At least you have it documented,
Hmm.
and it gets measured that way. So that's the
While
reason.
you're talking about this, Sonia's put in a comment. She says, I so resonate with this. The amount of exposure, analogies, stories that my travels have brought to me is unlike any other. One of my favorite moments that has been is seeing a herd of elephants crossing the path just ahead of us. And I was in awe with the thing I observed: leadership, family, community, and all from a herd of elephants. And that is just in a small moment. As is, beautifully said, Alifia. Sorry, Sonia, beautifully put together. Like, I mean, even by seeing a herd of elephants cross the path, you could learn so much. And similarly, how Sandeep had mentioned his younger son had, drawn 4 bits of it. That was also pretty interesting. So, yeah, that's very fascinating. So, you've got 36 done, 14 more to go. What's number 50? Do you want to share it?
50, forget it. I mean, I don't think so it'll happen. But of course, that was like, I don't remember whether that was 50 or whether it was before that. But I remember it's towards the end. It's either 48, 49, or 50.
Fair enough.
But I remember one of it was to live in the mountains without, I mean, to live at least 6 months without having any contact with your near and dear ones. Okay, to see how it feels like. Okay, and actually to do that with absolutely zero resources. So that's something I think that goes towards I don't know what, but I had it written it. I don't know whether I will get to it or not, but yeah. So not
Okay.
necessarily mountains, somewhere wilderness or somewhere in the world where almost 6 years, 6 months to 1 year without being in touch with any of your connects, any of your contacts, so that you can rediscover yourself, what you are. So that was one of it. One of the points. I think it was 47 or what is 48 or 49, 50. And there are obviously reasons as to why I want something like that.
Yeah.
Because think about it, whenever we are thinking with so many boundaries. You're thinking everything is so connected. ये करेंगे तो ये होगा तो ये कोई सोचेगा, ये करने से ये ठीक नहीं होगा. So imagine taking out all these boundaries of relations and responsibilities and accountabilities, and then that's living 6 months to a year of your life without these boundaries. How does it feel like? It's like taking a taking a rebirth again, or living a life again, or having an identity again. How to make an identity again? So yeah, something. I
Oh,
know it's sounds
very
abstract,
deep.
which is why it's right at the end. I don't know whether I reached there or not, but okay. Maybe I might just replace it with something else. I don't know.
Okay. But on the lighter side, you've gotten used to 6 months without being in contact with the world at large, but thanks to COVID. So I think this would make your job a little easier.
No, 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 because I was so grounded because I was staying with my family. And I mean, I'm so happy for that. I mean, imagine I had my mom, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew. Thanks to them that the 6 months have been, it's been effortless, if I were to say. They really
So,
come.
as a travel specialist, you basically deal with a lot of people who come in and reach out to you and ask you for, help in planning their travel. What's one of the weirdest requests you've gotten from a client?
So of course, trips to moon keep coming again.
You got to be kidding me. Are you serious?
Serious. So trips of moon keep on coming. So it's like I remember the first time I think was like it was a call. I mean, not obviously when you're in person and talking, that person has to have enough to even tell me or ask me something like this. But they call up and say, "अच्छा बताइए तो आप तो you do a lot of offbeat stuff. तो moon के बारे में आपने सोचा है क्या? आप कब कर रहे हो?" I'm like, "What are you thinking?" I think so. We have this, we do offbeat, obscure destination, little
Yeah.
exotic, lesser known destinations is what we do. There's this general thought that okay, moon is a lesser known destination. So, what are you thinking about it? Are you planning to put something? Are you planning to put together an itinerary for that? I mean, आपको क्या लगता है क्या कॉस्ट हो जाएगा? तो अभी से हम लोग बचत करना शुरू करें और I mean,
You know, it's funny you say that because your experiences of travel and what earlier Sandeep mentioned to a great extent about what it does to a person's life. It reminds me of a gentleman that I have the pleasure of calling a friend very recently, Amita. He's a well-known movie maker from the city. And we were having dinner one time, and he told me that what he told me was quite fascinating because he said, listen, all the money I earn, I first cover my expenses, I cover the basic living of me and my family, and whatever chunk is left over, we travel. And he said it, just by the way, I'm like, how I would say glass pani de do types, like a very offhanded kind, like ekdam straight up kind of thing. So we travel. And it took a little while for that whole thing to sink into me. But the more I interact with him and the more stories he shares and the more experiences he shares, it kind of becomes very fascinating. And I think that's what, this whole experience of travel does. You've put travel on a pedestal. So why is it so important for you?
I think, as I said, I mean, as even Sandeep and the lovely lady who commented, uh, it obviously it's an education of sorts. It's an experience of sort. Um, it gives you visuals like you've never seen before. It gives you sounds that you've never heard before. Even all your five senses, it exposes them that you've never seen anything before, and that's what is the beauty of travel. I mean, think about it. You experience different cultures. I mean, you befriend people who you would never think you're probably able to talk to them in the life, in your life at least. You taste cuisines, the taste which you can't even have a reference point to it because it doesn't taste like anything that you've tasted before. So
Right.
if it's an explosion of sorts for you each time you travel, so why would somebody earn for an experience which is so profound and it's so sublime, if I have to say? So yeah,
All right,
that's
so you got a quick question over here. I'm gonna skip out. I'm gonna remove Kunal's comment here. We'll come back to Kunal's comment. We got a quick question for you over here. Recommendation for an adventure-filled father-daughter trip. They are 15 years old and 17 years old worldwide. So any quick recommendation you want to give? And I don't know who this user is who's put in this comment. However, I would encourage you to take down Alifia's phone number and her email address right there on the screen. But very quickly, Alifia, if you want to touch
yeah.
on
So
this.
which is where we come from. An adventure-filled trip. It depends. Where you want to. First of all, there are a lot of things. There is adventure even right near Calcutta. So it depends how far you want to actually go. I can't hear you, Rahul. I can't hear you.
This is from Sanjay Porwal. Sanjay lives in Jaipur,
Okay.
so that should give you a start point. And Sanjay is pretty adventurous, so now you don't hold back on your thought processes. He's very adventurous, so you can help him out on this very quickly
Yeah,
on this.
it can be anywhere across the world. Even in India has some fantastic places. So of course, any of the mountains are a great place for adventure. If you like the outdoors, then if you're looking at anything anywhere outside the country, then I think adventure New Zealand tops it. New Zealand actually
Okay.
tops it. It tops it. The kind of possibilities there are because the country is so versatile. It gives you the mountains, it gives you the beaches, it gives you the rivers, it gives you the valleys, it gives you what not. I mean, it gives you volcanoes. So you take a pick how adventurous you want to be. So that's a great place to do an adventure if you want. It's in fact Queenstown. It's called the adventure capital of the world. So that's
Queenstown in
New Zealand.
in New Zealand. Okay.
Yeah, that's the adventure capital of the world. So if adventure is one, I think New Zealand should top the list. That's a great place.
So Sanjay, there you go. New Zealand is offhanded, just off the back of the hand recommendation from Alifia. Please feel free to get in touch with her. talk at great lengths, and she'll give you a super advice. And I can vouch for it, though I'm not going to get into all those travel discussions and all that. But Kunal says, Alifia, you are a very exciting individual. You truly believe in you have only one crack at life, so why be content with what you have? Go ahead and achieve more if you have the ability. Completely understand that you get a tremendous kick out of all this. Keep it going.
Thank you so much, Kunal.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Keep it going. I'm waiting for Rajesh. I don't know if Rajesh, are you there? You can join the conversation, man. This is because you were like really looking forward to this talk, and you said you had some questions for Alifia. So please join in, Rajesh. I'll send you the link right now on Facebook, and you can come in and ask your questions straight away. No issues at all. Sorry, now where's my question list gone?
You have a list?
Okay, so this is very fascinating because from one of your many stories as a travel facilitator, as an adventure dream weaver, you had once mentioned very offhandedly, though we'll not take names and get very controversial on this, but would you want to talk about the group of ladies who wanted you to arrange a trip around Greece and Spain, which included individual performances for every person at night, but they wanted the whole thing to be settled in cash?
So this is not one of the. So yeah, I mean, I get these kind of amazing requests. I mean, this is not just one of them. There's so many of these which keeps coming, and now people. So for this particular group, yes, they wanted everything in cash because they didn't want any kind of trace where the money is going. Okay, because the husbands, they could not have them husbands, and they were very
I
clear.
never said they were women, man. You are the one who said husbands.
No, but yeah, I'm not taking any names, but yeah, I mean, I have respect for them. I think I don't. I'm not in a position to give an opinion to that because everybody has their own right of opinion and they like what they like. So I don't want to judge them. But yes, there are all sorts of people who come to me for their travel plans. I mean, I have somebody. So just this is around 3 years back. A couple came to me who were getting married, and they have been knowing each other for almost a decade. So
Hmm.
they wanted to go for a honeymoon, and I said, okay, great. So how many days are you looking at? They said 20 to 25 days. I said, that's brilliant. So where are you looking for? So the girl had a different wish list. The guy had a different wish list. I said, how am I going to marry both of us? He said, no, we don't want you to marry both of us. You plan for him separately, we plan for me separately. We're both going on 4 days. Just that we're never going to get this kind of amount of time ever in our life. So we want to do our own thing. We know each other very well. So it's not like for us, it's not it's exploratory tool for us. So yeah,
Fair
but
enough.
so I think I don't need to judge anybody. So they went together from home. They went together to Dubai, and from Dubai, different flights. Of them went
Parts
to
like way.
their own home. So yeah, there are a lot of people wanting to do all sorts of things, and as far as it's travel, I don't have a problem. Neither should anybody have a problem because they're doing what they want, they like. And the love of
Right.
travel, anything is fair in love and travel.
Okay, so Rajesh has a question for you. I think you'll be able to answer this. Is it too dangerous to go to Ushaya? Is that how you say it? Ushai?
Ushuaia or Punta Arenas look for the last minute deal to Antarctica.
Antarctica.
You know what? Antarctica is a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And right now, of course, there are because of COVID, there are some deals going on, but
Hmm.
it's Antarctica is a pilgrim of sorts. Okay, don't try and do Antarctica is what I believe just because you need to checklist. It's it's
Okay.
it's a kind of it's kind of a place. It's the most pristine place in the world. Okay, and it's one place which is to be done because of the love of something which is so wild, so unexplored. Okay, it's so wild, it's so unexplored, it's so exquisite. I think that's the reason you should go there, and you should have the reasons for going to Antarctica before just going to Antarctica because let's say it's a very fancy thing to do. It's the seventh continent and nobody's been there. I mean, very few people have been there. So I think the kind of flora and fauna that you see there, in fact, we need to respect a lot for that continent, because that continent is not owned by any single country. And after the Treaty of Antarctica was signed in 1970, this continent does not belong to any country, and you can only go there for tourism and research purpose and nothing else. Nothing else.
Okay.
And
All right.
you're not supposed to pick even a small stone from there and bring it back. So that's how they want it to be untouched and pristine. So yeah, that's how.
So Deepak from Bombay says that effectively two honeymoons, right? For your last story that you shared.
I won't say two honeymoons, but yeah, two travel two travel itineraries or two travel exploratories, I would say. They wanted to do, and that it's been there on the checklist from for them. It being their childhood dream to go and see these places. And they said that they could not probably see it together because he did not want to see those countries because he's probably seen them or probably doesn't excite them, but he wanted to do them. So why kind of compromise on it when you have the opportunity to see it? See it, and many people. I mean, people say or come to me saying, अंटार्कटिका अभी नहीं करते बाद में करेंगे, अभी सारे रेगुलर प्लेसेस कर लेंगे, कन्वेंशनल प्लेसेस कर लेंगे, बाद में अंटार्कटिका कर लेंगे. Let me tell you one. If you have to do it now. Antarctica is not going to come any closer to you after 5 years or 10 years. One. Second is, if it is going to cost you an X amount now, it's going to cost you X plus Y afterward. So don't think it's going to get any cheaper. Okay, it is going to cost you probably the same or even more. So the reason that you give me ना कि बाकी सब कर लेते अभी कर लेंगे बहुत दूर है बाद में कर लेंगे. So that's why it's stupid,
It's funny. It's funny you bring the cost element on discussion right now because Deepak Khemani from Bombay is a very big proponent of saving and multiplying, compounding your profits and compounding your money on the bigger picture. He's a master of that. So it's funny you bring it up right now, and Deepak is watching it. He's probably jumping up with joy that the money factor is being discussed right now. But Pamit, I'm not able to get you in. You've been trying to. I've added you on the stream, but I can't hear you or I can't see your video. So please check on that and try to log back in again. So coming back to all these wonderful trips that you plan for your clients. What kind of stories do clients usually come back with? Do they come back with gripe stories कि यहाँ ये नहीं हुआ, वहाँ पे there was no hot water, there was no palak paneer, or do they come back with wonderful stories to share with you?
The flush is not working. So I had some person call me in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. It was New Zealand, and we are 7 hours ahead. I mean, they are 7 hours ahead of me, which was 2 a.m. in the morning for me. And I got a call from the New Zealand number, and all the person saying, "मेरा bathroom का flush काम नहीं कर रहा." I said, "Really? I mean, seriously? I mean, इतना महंगा होटल दिया है, इतने पैसे दिए हैं और फ्लश काम नहीं कर रहा है." So you have all sorts of people, but you know what? It's great because they just add up to the entire joy of working because they give me such amazing moments of of entertainment. And I have some amazing stories. I keep saying to my friends and in fact my colleagues at work also, that one day I should write this travel experiences of handling clients who want to travel or have traveled, because such stories I've heard. Such stories, such amazing stories, and there are some stories which have actually really transformed their lives. So that's really touched me, where you transform in lives, and that's what our tagline of a company is also: transforming lives through travel. And so we have some amazing stories where people they think they've transformed their lives by just one experience. Then there are people who said, हमें तो पता ही नहीं था कि ऐसी जगह एग्जिस्ट करती है. So it's like, wow. I mean, it's showing them a movie which they thought never existed. So even that's quite touching. And then probably sometimes it's just not the place; it's just an opportunity given to them, which helps them know two people. So there have been. I mean, I've heard this so many times for actually honeymoon couples and even for families, I've heard, that I never knew this aspect of my wife, I never knew this aspect of my husband, but on this travel, I've realized something like this. And we were sitting together and then we exchanged these dialogues or this conversation, and that has actually transformed something within us. So even something like this also uh, really eggs us to do these kind of travel where we give them opportunities to even
Mm-hmm.
just know a place, but even know each other and even themselves, because it really sometimes it really shows you what you are. You never knew you were like this, and then this travel unfolds circumstances and experience where you rediscover yourself, and that's so amazing, and that's so amazing when you rediscover yourself because you never knew that portion of you existed somewhere inside you, whether it's a thought process, whether it's a skill, whether it's a, I don't know, but yeah, it has done right many times to people.
Okay, so Deepak has a follow-up question for you. He is saying that I thought prices go down. Doesn't travel become cheaper later?
No, travel never becomes cheaper. Travel never becomes cheaper later. Yeah, of course. If you think about that way, the more a country or a specific place is more commercialized, that's when the supply increases and the demand increases. Obviously, there are more airlines coming in that particular country. Then obviously the FS starts dropping, which is why the FS for a very popular destination is obviously much cheaper than a place which is a little more discreet. So yeah, in terms of that, the travel cost does come cheaper because then there are more hotels in that place rather than just 2 or 3 hotels which were there earlier. So the more
Mm-hmm.
commercial the place becomes, then obviously the prices keep dropping. But if it's a lesser known place, then obviously the price really does not change that much. It
More
remains.
commercialization means more people over there. That means you're going to get a lot of pokey noses. You're going to get a lot of commercialization of everything, and you miss out on the real experience of travel. Because for me, travel usually is very shoestring budget in terms of the commute, but mostly
Yes.
a lot on the experience and the food for me. So that's how I work it out. Just take
For
care.
example, Antarctica will never get cheaper, even because it can't be commercialized more. Because there is a restriction on number of people that can arrive in the continent. There's a peg to it. So it only stay
Okay.
that. It can't go beyond
Okay.
that. So it is going to remain, the cost is going to be the same what it was now, or probably get even more expensive, but it'll never get cheaper.
Okay. Hi Rajiv, how are you? Rajiv is from Delhi. He's dropping in a hi. So Alifia, you know, knowledge never kills. I feel that knowledge just helps you amplify your experiences as you progress. Now, when you personally travel for your own self, for your
Yeah.
own leisure, how do your multiple degrees help you amplify your experience of travel? So you didn't see that coming question, did you?
No, it's not that, but very interesting because the way I explain when I see a place, for example, when I see for a lot of people, it's a structure, a monument, just another cathedral. But when I see it,
Hmm.
it talks to me. It
Yeah,
talks
you
to
you
me.
you seeing it as an architect. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
That's what
why
I
it
meant.
talks
Yeah.
to me? It talks to me. It talks to me in terms of wow, I see the kind of building things that has gone inside. The glass, the painting talks. Okay, the kind of the way it has been built talks to me. So yeah, so that obviously talks to me. So nothing has been whatever I've studied has never gone. I would say has ever gone waste, which is why a person I still remember in fact, when I come back from my travels and I start writing about it, and when I talk about it to people who would like to go to that country, they
Hmm.
probably rubbish a particular place, a particular monument, just like that. नहीं हमको नहीं देखना, वो history नहीं देखना. And then I start explaining them. For example, the Angkor Wat in Cambodia. For them, for many people, it's just a temple.
Got it.
Okay, but when you talk to them about what is Angkor Wat, okay, how it is, what was it about, why was it built in the first place, what is the structure all about it, the history about it, and what made into just making this big structure, and why it is no longer what it was. The entire Khmer thing, the kingdoms, the
The
kings who
Khmer regime.
ruled,
Yeah.
in the 11th and 12th century. So when you talk to them about this, that's when they get interested. Oh yeah, I never thought from this perspective. And when you talk, they actually take it with them and they go there and they see it and then they relate to it, and that really helps them and gives them a much more fulfilling experience than just about seeing a third
Mm.
temple. ठीक है, photo लिया, खत्म करो, चलो next. It's not like that. It's just not like that. So if you would explain everything to your people who want to travel, if you actually tell them what goes behind what you're seeing and what's the significance of it, then obviously the entire experience becomes much more fulfilling experience for them. And it's just not a Facebook travel where you take photographs, post on your Facebooks, okay, next, let's go. So it's not like that. And even when I travel, I think I look into these kind of experiences when things talk to me, excite me, and I want to learn more. And of course, the kind of people that we are, Rahul, we obviously want to know more. We have this hunger for knowing, for learning more,
Hmm.
and things which we have not never seen it. We are obviously very excited to know. ये कैसे हुआ, वो कैसे हुआ, so that learning never goes away, and which is why always keep traveling, seeing new places really excites us.
Okay. So there's one more comment from Kunal for you. Amit popped in and then again he's dropped off. And I think even Minu messaged that she's having network issues, so she's not able to come in. So
Yep.
unfortunately, it is what it is. But now coming to a topic slightly little more serious.
Yeah.
You started this phenomenal sensitization program for children about good touch and bad touch, and my understanding is that you started it off on your own, and now it's become a very big deal.
No, no,
It's
no,
a
I
pretty
didn't start.
successful program.
No, I didn't start on my own. It was part of Young Indians. It's under the initiative
Hmm.
called, earlier it
Okay.
was called Komal, and now it's called Masoom. Okay, it
Okay.
is about sensitizing children in the age group of 6 to 12 against sexual child abuse. So
Okay.
yeah, it was that's something which I was very close to my heart, and I really took it forward, and I'm glad it's kind of picked up pace and it's gone so nationally, especially in Calcutta. It's become big, a big project, and now every member and doing their bit. And I remember some 2 3 years back, we landed up sensitizing almost 1 lakh children in that year, and that was like really awesome. And thanks to the entire team who has come together, who felt for this particular cause, and we went together. And we are looking at now it becoming a part of the curriculum. So we are working on that in the advocacy stage, where we're looking at this becoming a part of curriculum. It's taught in schools, so that it's no longer something that has to be done outside of your course or somebody coming and doing it, but it's taught in the
Okay.
school. So yeah, we are in that advocacy level. So we have reached that
So
far.
that's good. So, what according to you is the appropriate age for kids in today's day and age to be, to be exposed to this curriculum?
So you know what? It is not something that there's an age to when you start exposing it. I think as responsible adults, as parents, we should start talking about it, or we should very naturally in the way we talk to our children, probably kind of make them aware of what is it, what are the parts of their body, what is a touch, a good touch and a bad touch. I think it's an ongoing kind of a thing. It's not something that okay, the age 4 or you hit the age 6, and that's when I'm going to start about. But very gradually you kind of start talking about it, and then even through actions and even through behaviors, you can actually show them that what is right and what is wrong. But ideally, if you were to put an age to it, I think nowadays, because of the explosion of internet and the kind of medium which is available to children, I think even starting at an age 5 would
Hmm.
be would be ideal, because I think children are growing up very fast now because of the exposure to a lot of media. So I don't
Okay.
think it should be 5 is good enough. I think by that time they know what is what of their body, and they can understand and they can feel. And children are more sensitive. They can feel. Even with a hug, they can feel, and you can have to make them feel, because when you're angrily hugging a child, they can feel that. When you're lovingly hugging a child, they can feel that. So that's the difference. You need to make them feel. So I think that's an education which goes on and on and on. There's no start and there's no end problem.
Pamit, you could finally make it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alifiya is here. If you have any anecdotes to share about your travels or lessons learned from travel, or if you have any question to ask Alifiya about some fancy travel, this is the right time.
Yeah, the one lesson I learned is that when you are in a place, especially in a European country, it's best to venture into any of the alleys rather than planning like all the touristy destinations. Just walk into any of the alleys and explore the local interactions with people, and that really opens you up in terms of being in that place. So that has been one of my ways of being whenever I travel.
No, absolutely, I agree with you because um, it has to be beyond brochures. It has to be beyond boundaries, is what we say. That's when real travel happens. Otherwise, you actually seeing what is being talked about and seen by countless others, and you actually experience something which is experienced by all of them. How is your travel then different? It is those things that you do, which are not written in books, is when you charter your own travel experience, and that's so amazing about it because every lane, every alley which you mentioned has a story, has a particular character to it. It's different from every other lane, isn't it? So I think that's what gives character to cities rather than big monuments. Of course, they are there. They are definitely there. You need to give, I mean, due respect to it. You definitely see them. But it's places like these, obscure places, the alley, that cafeteria, that coffee, that guy, strumming that guitar. It's that what gives character to a place, isn't it? And that's what makes travel so experiential rather than bookish. And it's not like a something that you can keep seeing in a brochure and just feasting your eyes on it. It's an experience. Yeah.
Yep. Just to share an anecdote, once I was in Zurich, and my partner and I, we were just walking down. It was very cold, and we were like searching for vegetarian food, probably in the wrong city. And
You have some lovely vegetarian food.
at one place we found, most of the places we found that when we talked about vegetarian, they just said, hey, I could just take out the meat and you could have it. And in one place, in some remotest of alleys, we found one Indian restaurant where we had to pay like $80 to get meal of two, which was expensive. And it was a normal Indian meal, but that is the only place we could get a good vegetarian Indian stuff. So anyway, that was one of my.
So for me, so
Good.
a lot of people, one of the basic reasons people think or want to travel to a place or decide to travel to a place is Indian khana milega. So, okay, Indian yeah, नहीं पनीर बटर मसाला दाल मखनी मिली.
So,
Yeah, actually,
Alifiya, you have a question. You have a question which is a little detailed from Rajiv Soni
the
on Angkor Wat.
Indian food is just that it was the only choice we found which was vegetarian that day, so we had to have it. That's all.
No, but why not try vegetarian which is not Indian? There is a possibility, isn't it? I mean, it's great. I mean, in fact, Western countries now are very big on vegan now. In fact, you wouldn't have extensive vegan menu in India the way you have across these European cities now. So one of the big points of travel is you need to be open to experimenting, and experimenting to biggest extent also probably is food. Yeah, so I remember a place like Mongolia, which you can't even think except meat. You still have vegetarian option there. It's just about being a little open and experimenting. Obviously, it's not as to your palate to develop a taste, but ठीक है, वो चल जाता है. Yes,
So here's a question on Angkor Wat for you.
Yeah.
It's funny that we'll come back to what Pamit was saying about food. You guys are discussing, but here's a question on Angkor Wat. What do you think is the built heritage of Northeast, such as the structure of the home or the stone city in Arunachal, or the rock carvings of Unnakoti, which is not on the maps of travel agencies? Don't you think it is also their responsibility to promote destinations?
Yes, I completely agree to what you say, Rajiv. And in fact, our country is so, I mean, speckled with such amazing structures all around. But the only thing that we are right now challenged is with the infrastructure. Okay, the reason is our infrastructure is challenged, which is why not many people travel to these places to be talking about it. Okay, because not many people travel to places to be talking about, and everything obviously boils down to the profitability. Today, the reason I be able to talk about Angkor, the amazing complex it is because tourism is flourishing. There are great flights, great connectivity to get you there. Once you're there, you have the best of the hotels there. We talk about even seven-star luxury hotels in Siem Reap, which give you that access. Talk about Arunachal. You will not even come across a single five-star hotel there. So if you don't have that kind of tourism places coming and then you don't have the kind of infrastructure, I mean, if you were to go from one place to another, imagine going from Iran to Tawang itself takes you 8-9 hours, and the roads are not so great. So obviously, if infrastructure is compromised, we really don't have much as far as tourism being developed in those places, and which is why it's not getting promoted. To promote it, people need to be able to go there. When going there and accessibility is a challenge, in spite of me promoting it, people will not go there. Because food is a challenge, accommodation is a challenge. I won't say challenge as in really it's a life in that situation, but yeah, it's not a luxury experience. It's not a luxury experience at all. And people, when they're on holiday, they want to have that luxurious experience at the same time being able to see something. So that's a challenge. We need to, especially the northeastern states, definitely needs a lot of attention as far as roads and infrastructure is concerned. So that's
Okay,
something
so
that
basically, infrastructure is the reason that it's not being promoted. I hope this answers your questions, Mr. Soni. Rajesh is here. Rajesh was asking the question about the Antarctica trip.
yeah, sure.
Rajesh,
Yeah,
you're on.
Yes,
yeah. Hi,
Rajiv.
both of you. Yeah,
Hi.
why I asked that question, like if I could go to Shoha or Punta Arenas and take a flight, because for
Yeah.
me, doing all the activities there is important, like zodiac cruising, kayaking, camping, hiking, which would cost a lot of money. So I was thinking, how could I cut down on the cruise cost so that I could do all the activities which is possible there?
So see, the Punta Arenas area and let's say Ushuaia, it's not very far from each other if you remember. In fact, the entire Patagonia region gives you a very small highlight of what Antarctica could be, but really does not tell you how Antarctica is. So go to Antarctica, there are only two ways. There are only two ways. You either fly there, which is extremely expensive proposition, or you take that cruise across the Drake Passage. Okay,
Oh,
and
yes.
the Drake's Passage. And once you take this cruise, all the activities in Antarctica is paid for. So all your zodiac landings, everything is paid for. So it's not like a
Okay,
cruise which just takes you there and then you again have to pay for. No. Once you book an Antarctica cruise, all your activities, which are probably which means two landings in a day. Okay, so once you're on the continent, you probably go to different parts of the continents every day, and there are two landings, zodiac landings happening regularly. And the kind of and there are naturalists on board, there are botanists on board, there are people who are authority on weather, on marine life, and they give you sessions. So once you do a zodiac landing, they take you there and explain you everything, and then you back on your cruise, and there's a discussion and there's a study session, and they tell you what is what. So that's amazing, and all this is paid
okay,
for, mind you. So it's not like you pay them separately. So once you book a cruise,
okay,
it does not even it takes care of your getting from point A to point B. It takes care of your food. It takes care of your accommodation. It takes care of all your adventures, which you do the zodiac landings, as well as all the education that you receive on board. Everything is included.
Oh, thank you very
Nothing.
much. I was not aware of this. I thought it was plus plus, apart from the
No,
cruise.
it's all included. It's all included.
Anyways, I think once you do that 1.5, 2 days of Drake Passage, everything else in the world is going to look easy because those one and a
You
half,
get
two
a
days is.
certificate. You actually get a certificate on passing the Drake passage. Okay, because it's not easy. Mind the
You
most
get a
difficult.
certificate if you pass it. If you survive Drake's Passage.
So once you do that, you actually say, the once you finish Antarctica, they give you a certificate, and they write you that you are certified that you've done a continental landing on so and so day, at this particular degree,
Okay.
and we have put the note on you passing the Great Passage. Okay, because you have to pass the passage while going and while coming, and that's, believe me, it's an experience not to be missed.
Thank you very
You should experience it. You should experience it. If you're lucky, you will. It will be easy. If you're not, you will live to see another story.
Thank you.
So Drake's Passage sounds interesting. You're going to get a certificate. I think Sandeep, that's something that I'd like to flaunt on my wall also. But I think if you're going by the Russian ships, they have copious amount of local vodka, so that takes good care of you.
So yeah,
So
you can
and
have
Pamit,
there's alcohol on board, so you can probably get some stone while you're passing the Drake Passage. That's what people do. They have sleeping pills, okay, and they just sleep through the day because otherwise you as it is feel so disoriented, and even on your bed, the bunk beds or whatever beds that you're sleeping on, they have these I don't know what you call the ones you have in hospital beds so you don't roll over because you
yeah.
have an inclination of 28 degrees. So there are all chances in the night you have to put those railings, I would say, on so you don't roll over. That's kind of, yeah, that's
So
typical reason.
Pamit brought up the conversation about the food. My next question was going to be, how difficult is it in this day and age to tailor a trip for Indian vegetarian folks, especially the kinds who swear by butter naan, dal makhani, and all that kind of stuff?
So the only place where so while all other countries, and especially European countries, and in fact even South American countries, big cities all have 2 or 3 Indian restaurants. If that's the minimum. Go to even Buenos Aires, you go to Rio de Janeiro, all these. In fact, Ushuaia, the last place. The last place on the continent before Antarctica. Even Ushuaia has an Indian restaurant, so that's not a challenge. The
Okay.
challenge is places which are actually, like, for example, Mongolia. Okay, now Mongolia, apart from the capital Ulaanbaatar, nothing. There is no Indian food at all. Okay, and
Okay.
Mongolia is an outstanding country. Let me tell you that it's the last nomadic tribe in the world, and over there it's a nomad culture. So once you're out of Ulaanbaatar, okay, you're actually out there in the wild, which is the desert, the Gobi Desert, if I may say. And there, Indian food is going to be a problem because there you actually get into gear camps where people eat nothing but meat. Okay, and the drink is it's called
Yak
Iraq.
milk.
Iraq, which is fermented horse maize milk, is the drink. So can you imagine that? Yeah. So over here, what we do is we actually take these kitchen trucks along with us. So if we have Indian guests who really want their butter naan and paneer butter masala, we have these German kitchen trucks with us. Okay, where we actually take food and cook the food right in the middle of the Gobi Desert for them, and we have cooks who actually cook that. And from India, when we go there, we actually pack the spices and what all that is required and send them the recipes much in advance, 1 month in advance. So here you go. We're sending you all the stuff. This is the recipe. Please cook. But yeah, so this is what we do. I mean, obviously, if there is no way
Good
out,
stuff.
Awesome.
we actually right in the middle of Gobi Desert. Can you imagine giving paneer butter masala? I mean, this is like so. This is
Well, so
all
I
dry
hope it
food.
answers all the questions.
This is
Thank you,
like
Rajesh. I hope that answers your question for you. Your Antarctica trip seems to be a little more crystallizing, taking a little more shape, I think. And Alifia's numbers here, if you want to reach out to her, please feel free. And thanks, Pamit, for dropping in and sharing your story. Thank you, Sandeep, for dropping in, and everyone who messaged today. This has been pretty good with the interaction. I still feel that maybe because of COVID, the industry has taken a beating, and people, but it is very evident that everybody wants to travel. So I think once everything opens up, Alifiya, you could be keeping a lot busy. Yeah, Kunal's
Maybe
saying
because,
something else.
yeah.
He says, why wouldn't people want to experience local food and enhance the whole travel experience? Why carry your own Indian eating habits on with oneself? I don't know. That's
So
a personal choice, I
there
feel.
are no, Rahul, there are two things about it. So we Indians, I would talk for myself. We rarely want to come out from our comfort zone. The first time we come out of our comfort zone is when we travel. Okay, when we
Okay.
travel to a new country, a place which is not being validated by our peers or by our contact sphere, when you're doing
Okay.
something that obscure, is that first time, first place where we are coming out from a comfort zone, and then asking them to now come out of the comfort zone as far as food is concerned is like asking too much. It's like asking too much. Because we will get there, but let's go step by step. So that's where they're coming from. I understand. I'm actually doing this. It's actually out of my comfort zone. This is not what I planned for me. Holiday luxury meals, big nice plush bed, bahar mein pool, this, that, and all that. But here I'm doing right in the Gobi Desert, doing stuff like this. But then I want my food because you know what? I can look around, say wow, I say wow, and I keep on saying wow, wow, wow. लेकिन फिर मुझे भूख लगेगा और मुझे भूख लगेगा मुझे फिर मेरे हिसाब का खाना चाहिए. At that time, if you ask me that you're going to be eating horse meat, well, that's not happening. Because if I eat that horse meat, I won't get up the next day to say wow. So I need my butter masala. So and some people are very, very, very accommodative. They say, अच्छा एक काम करिए, पूरे 7 दिन में से नहीं, सिर्फ 2 बार इंडियन खा लीजिए. So even that's sorted out. So okay. So for the rest of the days, the home packed keplas and kachas and mattis and all that. Just give me one or two meals. I think that should sort it out. So I think it's all about your, getting out of the comfort zone. So yeah,
Kunal's got one more question coming up.
yeah, sure.
I don't know, waiting for him to get on the stream. Pamit, you got any more questions before we wrap up?
I think I'm good. Just experience you shared about Mongolia and some other places which were not so sorted out for travel, like by touristy folk.
All I can say, if you want to talk about travel, I'm open 365 days. Rahul knows about it. Just hop into my office and we can keep talking about travel. That's it. I love talking about travel. So
The
how about
Mongolia trip, I remember you'd called me just a week before the trip and you said, if I could join you on the trip. And unfortunately, I just couldn't do it. That was a good opportunity missed because I saw the photographs and you came back with the photos and we had a good Adda session in my studio where we discussed. So
yeah.
Pamit's in Bombay though, so you
Yeah.
guys will have to get in
That's
touch
okay.
with
We have our office in Bombay as well. So we have.
just one question on Egypt? I've heard stories about, well, obviously Egypt has attraction factor, but also the news and the stories about it is that you have to really be careful about your wallet and you have to be really protective about certain things. You're not going into areas where you don't know.
In
Uh,
Egypt.
yeah, Egypt is what one I have heard about, and of course, similar to that, of course, Pakistan and maybe other places where we would be hearing things which would be kind of contrary to what the countries are where you are from and where the country, the cultures may be conflicting. So, what are some of the precautions or some of the things? Are there?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to stereotype any culture, any community, any country for that matter. It's just rules of the thumb. It's just rules of the thumb. The same rules apply in Italy. Okay, it's the Bihar of Europe. The same applies in probably Pakistan, in Egypt. Just be sure of your belongings. In fact, a lot of it happens even in Greece. After Greece went through that recession, I think it was it really happens there also. But all I would say is, because I have traveled to these countries, all you need to do is keep your things handy. Never carry your passport along with you. Always carry a Xerox of your passports. Keep the money that you require in your, not in your wallet in the bag that you're carrying, but in the pockets, because you really, in your jeans pocket, somebody has to really push your hand inside your pocket. Utna himmat kisi ko hoga nahi. And by the time somebody does it, you're obviously aware of it. So these are simple rules. You don't flash a very expensive watch. Okay, don't flash your solitaires, okay, and your diamonds and stuff. Don't flash expensive stuff. Just be normal, local, enjoy the thing, and carry only the basics that you require to carry, and leave the rest in the locker of your hotel room. I think it's great for you. All this, if these things are made a note of, and if you kind of follow them, no country I would say is unsafe. I was in Iraq last year in October. In October, I was almost for a week in Iraq, and believe you me, I found it exactly like India. There was no, I mean, the way it's talked about in the media, that there's so much of disharmony, there's so much of thing happening, and nothing of that sort. Exactly because every person over there is actually living his own her life. Things are absolutely normal. People are going to the shops, people are working, restaurants are open, there's work happening, there's business happening, nothing. Exactly the way a normal city happens. I was in Najaf, I was in Karbala, and everything absolutely normal. And this is Iraq, and people Iraq jana safe, like, yeah. I think that was a very safe country. Nothing happened to it. Nothing. In fact, I never even had to think कि रात को निकलेंगे तो कोई problem और क्या. Nothing was solved. So I think it's all the kind of concept India has portrayed. And I don't want to get into it because then I'll probably politicizing it. But yeah, it's you need to be careful about what you read and infer from what media has to write. That's why first experience is more important. And that's the reason why, I remember a comment coming in South Africa says, believe in it safe. I've been there 5 times, and most of the time I travel alone, and I'm there talking in front of you, so obviously it's safe.
Cool, Alifiya. This has been great. Thank you for joining in, Pamit. Thanks, Sandeep, for joining in. Alifiya, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
It's been wonderful, this discussion, this whole taking you through your journey from childhood to what you're doing today. But I still feel that with all the degrees that you have and the other degrees that you're working on, which you've told me not to mention, with those degrees, you can still have a phenomenally comfortable life and still travel, but you choose to travel and propagate that thought process with people around you. You choose to help people travel and experience the world around you. That is phenomenal. It's greatly admired, and I love the stories you share. And you know me, if I have to travel, you're the first person I call. So
thank you so much. It's really amazing to get that kind of validation from you, Rahul. Thanks so much for having me on the show. It was the first for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it because travel is something people me talking day and night about it, and I will not be saying, I'll not be kind of saying a word against it. I enjoy it thoroughly. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on that show. It's been a delight. It's been a pleasure. And
good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pamit. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Alifiya. It's been wonderful. Just before we close, I am going to drop in her phone number here at the bottom. So once again, guys, this is a weekly episode of Penny for Your Thoughts, where I try to get in people who've made their own silver spoon. It's not people who've got silver spoons. People who I find fascinating, people who I feel that they are doing something incredible, which is motivating and makes you think twice about what you're doing in a positive way, and also probably make you realize that you might be missing out on something. So do drop in your comments, do reach out to me. My name is Rahul Hu everywhere on Facebook, LinkedIn, even on Twitter. Hashtag any social media /Rahul Hu, that's me. Drop in a comment, tell me what you feel about the show, tell me how we can better it, and tell me who would you want to see or what topic do you want me to touch next time. Next week, we have India's best jazz pianist coming on the show. Look out for the social media posts. That's going to be incredible. That's going to be one topic that's going to be absolutely mad. So See you guys on. Thanks, Alifiya. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Sunday.
Thanks. Bye.